Here's the brief. News from the world over this week. The Trump versus Clinton presidential election began in earnest this week as the two major party candidates took direct aim at each other. No longer feeling the burn, Hillary Clinton on Tuesday ripped into Donald Trump's economic policies and his business experience. She warned Trump would send the U.S. economy back into recession.
We can't let him bankrupt America like we are one of his failed casinos. We can't let him roll the dice with our children's futures. Leading an economy as large and complex as ours, creating growth that is strong, fair, and lasting is about as hard a job as there is.
Meanwhile, a more scripted and disciplined Donald Trump took to the podium in New York on Wednesday, delivering the speech many Republicans had been awaiting.
As you know,
he unloaded on Mrs. Clinton.
Most people know she's a world-class liar. Her campaign slogan is, "I'm with her." You know what my response is to that? I'm with you, the American people.
Trump accused Clinton of personally profiting from her tenure at the State Department and savaged her foreign policy record.
Hillary Clinton's tryout for the presidency has produced one deadly foreign policy disaster after another. One by one, they're all bad.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has promised to make religious liberty a top priority should he be elected. In a private meeting with Christian conservatives in New York, the likely Republican nominee said he would remove the ban against churches and other tax-exempt groups from fully participating in the political process. Under current law, tax-exempt groups cannot explicitly endorse candidates. Trump called religious liberty the #1 question. His appearance and comments earned him a standing ovation from the hundreds in attendance. Trump also promised to appoint pro-life Supreme Court justices. Marjorie Dannenfelser of the Susan B. Anthony list discussed Trump's comments at a post-event press conference.
And when he said several times today, pro-life Supreme Court justices, I don't know about you guys, but that's the first time I have ever heard a candidate use those words together in one sentence.
And Florida Senator Marco Rubio announced Wednesday he will run for re-election and defend his seat after all. It's a big departure for the former Republican presidential candidate who said repeatedly during the campaign that he would not run for Senate again. Rubio said he changed his mind in part because he believed no matter who is elected president, the Senate needs people willing to act as a check and balance on the excesses of the next president. Rubio's decision likely helps national Republicans in a critical seat they need to maintain their slim Senate majority. Polls show Rubio leading his possible Democratic challengers, while other Republicans trail him. Rubio must still clear the field of Republican challengers in an August primary. And a major defeat for President Barack Obama at the Supreme Court on immigration. In a 4-4 decision and without comment, the High Court on Thursday effectively let stand a lower court ruling that struck down the president's unilateral policy to officially defer the deportation of millions of people living in the U.S. illegally. The president called the decision heartbreaking, but said in so many words that the Supreme Court decision on deportation would have little effect.
Enforcement priorities developed by my administration are not affected by this ruling. This means that the people who might have benefited from the expanded deferred action policies, long-term residents raising children who are Americans or legal residents, they will remain low priorities for enforcement.
Immigration is sure to be a front-burner issue in this election season. And in a related story, Pope Francis offered another grand gesture to immigrants this week. During his Wednesday general audience in St. Peter's Square, the Pope spontaneously invited a dozen African migrants to join him on the steps of St. Peter's. Then, while surrounded by the migrants, the Pope called for all of Europe to welcome more of them, saying, "Please, they are our brothers. A Christian excludes no one. Let everyone come." The migrants were in Rome as guests of the Catholic charity Caritas Florence. From the very beginning of his pontificate, Pope Francis has repeatedly drawn attention to the plight of migrants and refugees from the Middle East. And marking the second anniversary of the fall of Mosul to the Islamic State, the two leading prelates in the region are calling on the international community and the Iraqi government to do more to help their people. Patriarch Joseph III Yunan of the Syriac Catholic Church and Patriarch Ignatius Afram II of the Syrian Orthodox Church issued a joint statement challenging the, quote, absence of serious actions to step up the liberation of Mosul and the villages of the Nineveh Plain. In addition to the millions under siege there, an estimated 500,000 have fled the region. The patriarchs rued the plight of those refugees as, quote, the wound of forced emigration, which is still bleeding. They did encourage the refugees to remain the shining lamp in the darkness of tribulation. On the battlefront, ISIS forces seem to be fraying. Last week, the terror group was overrun in Fallujah by U.S.-backed Iraqi forces. And in Mosul, ISIS publicly executed 4 of its commanders for refusing to fight. The executions are among 100 or so similar executions that have taken place in recent months, as morale has reportedly fallen in ISIS strongholds. Meanwhile, Syrian President Bashar Assad is promising a new constitution to ensure equal rights for all citizens and eliminate discrimination toward religious minorities. Assad made the comments while meeting with several bishops from across Syria. He assured them that the new constitution will be thoroughly secular and removes all reference to religion, removing also the requirement that the head of the Syrian state be a professed Muslim. Assad also called on all players in the Middle East to oppose the jihadist ideology and the aggression by the Islamic State. In a related note, Maronite Catholic bishops are urging Christians to persevere in coexistence with Muslims and reject all international plans to partition Syria. And at long last, I want to announce some of the winners of the Will Wilder audio book contest. I asked you all to send me your favorite pictures of your readers enjoying the book. We received so many amazing submissions. Here are the winners: Joe Inzeo and family, Gloria Hitchcock, Brandon and Laura Bosch and their little baby, and Daniel Vonderhaar, who sent pics of his amazing Will Wilder book report, complete with pictures. Thanks for that. I love that so many of you are making Will part of your summer reading, and the Will Wilder, The Relic of Perilous Falls tour continues. I'll be in Santa Clara, California on Saturday, June 25th, at the Elevate 2016 conference at the Santa Clara Marriott on Mission College Boulevard. I'm speaking in the afternoon and signing all my books. You folks in the Bay Area, come by. And on Wednesday, June 29th, I'll be in McLean, Virginia at the Tyson's Corner Barnes & Noble at 7 p.m., signing copies of Will Wilder and my other books. Get all the details at RaymondArroyo.com.